Roma Napoli, guys, let's do this. I hope you are feeling at least slightly, perhaps hopeful of a draw. Maybe we go crazy and Roma gets a win. How you feeling? I'm Wayne Gerard. We're going to be breaking this game down. We're going to look at the Mourinho press conference, and we're going to talk about what is Roma's real problem. And this is a topic which I've been thinking all week about. I obsess over these things, and I'm on like the Roma Club New York chat. Who else? Our own chat for this channel, Big Soccer. I can't stop talking about it because I need to find the solution. I have to figure out what is up with Roma, what has gone wrong, what has been an issue since I've been a fan. And I want to first off jump in. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what is that issue in your opinion. I know people are going to say the players. People are going to say it's Mourinho. I want to start off at the top of that because all of those are reactions, they're byproducts of one another. I think the real issue is a plan that did not work out, is the idea under the ownership that because this must be an ownership policy that gets transmitted down to the board of directors and to Thiago Pinto, is get enough patchwork players, players who come in on loan, players who are on free transfers, in order to make Roma stay competitive for those Champions League places, and then hope that by getting fourth place, the keyword there is hope. By getting fourth place, Roma will make enough money to then really start to revolutionize and then be able to afford bigger and better players. However, as we've seen since Mourinho has been coach, since Fonseca was coach, this hasn't been a thing. This hasn't worked out according to plan. Whether we agree with Taylor's decisions last year in the Europa League final, okay, that's another thing. And we can say that maybe under this plan, the management did enough and they should have gotten that Champions League place via winning gold in the tournament. However, now we've got this problem of it not working out. And I think that it comes down to really just so much patchwork. And we get players in on loan like the Christensen. How many Christensens have there been? How many Aouars? And we can go down the line. And for me, I try to figure out, and look, I'm going to say this Mourinho got outsmarted by his pupil, by Mota, tactically. But perhaps on the flip side of that, Mourinho's players were not wise enough, were not athletic enough in order to achieve the tactic to its 100% to the utmost of what was being planned due to attitude limitations, due to physical limitations. There's that scenario as well. And I have to think in this is not defensive Mourinho. This is not. I don't care either side. I'm bipartisan. I'm not in the line. I'm not for either camp or any camp. There is no camp. My camp is Roma. So how do you sign Mourinho and then not understand exactly what he needs? And is Mourinho culpable for this, for going into preseason without exactly what he required? I can't imagine. Mourinho wants quality players. He wants the cream of the crop. Is it Matic? Is it the failure of replacing Mkhitaryan? So there's poor planning on regard, or I should say poor replacement. There's poor recruiting on getting Mourinho the players he needs because there's no excuse why Bologna's guys should be doing laps around Roma's. Look, bro, I understand. Roma plays many more games. They have European tournaments. They're probably going to go further in the Coppa Italia, and they're more jaded. And Mota has this luxury, right, of being able to play a fresh squad every week. But they did it again in not a completely fresh squad, right? A couple days later, they go on and they beat Inter 4-0. Will Inzaghi get the same criticism that Mourinho got? No, he won't. Short answer, no. But I analyze that and I'm trying, because I'm always trying to figure it out. What happened? And the real breakdown is the first goal, because after the first goal, it becomes a lot harder for Roma to play the way that they want. So Freuler drops back. He comes back to interchange with his center back. But then Freuler makes a somewhat simple run, and he cuts through not one, not two, but three midfielders. So I think that Mourinho was trying to break down Mota's overload, the way that he likes to play, which is how Bologna scored the second goal. But we're not going to go there. And Freuler receives a ball splitting three players. One of those was Lorenzo Pellegrini, the captain, who then jogs back and doesn't fully recover. doesn't run Freuler down, who then makes a pass to somebody else, then out to the wing, whatever. It's a goal scored, right? How on earth is that acceptable? So what does Mourinho do now? Does he make a point out of Pellegrini? Well, that's a conflict of interest. This is Roma's captain. This is a guy from Rome. This is a guy who is pushed up and promoted by the Curva Sud, who's celebrated, right? But so is Mourinho. And the reason why the Curva Sud loves Jose is because he won't settle for a he won't settle for that type of giving up. It's inconceivable to me how the midfield completely gave up on that. Now we could go and say Mourinho should have the boys playing in different ways and with a different tactic, with a different approach. I agree to that to some extent. I really do. I think that this Roma does so much better when they don't play and try to absorb pressure, but actually when they play on the front foot, when they play possession ball, there's that as well. But Mourinho is not the crux. He's not the center of the issue. Instead, it's quality. It's quality which is affected by a gamble, which looked to get into Champions League by signing guys like Renato Sanchez and, like I said, like Christensen, not to pick on him because Christensen's been halfway decent, and free transfers and relying on stardom. I love Paulo Dybala. He's my favorite active player. I'm not kidding. That's truth. I loved him when he was at Juventus. I've watched him since he was at Palermo. But the idea that Roma can truly build on players who play 60 to 70% of the matches, what are we talking about? What are we doing? That Dybala has to be the cherry on top. He can't be the guy that you completely rely on to go and win you the Scudetto, and he can't because statistically, if you go and you say you're going to win 90% of the games that Dybala plays, but he misses 70%, then your win rate's only like 60%. So, okay, if you do the math, if you went to school, you know that 60% is failing, and that's not good enough. So where does that leave Roma? And I do really consider the long-term issues of the strategy. I think that there needs to be a clear plan. Yes, of course, starting with youth. But if you start with youth, you have to consider the ambiente, the air of Roma, and the pressure that is put onto these players. That's too much for a young player. Truly, it's not good for their development. So what do you do now? I think that you need, like I keep saying, you need a press officer. You need a press officer named Wayne Gerard, and you need to tell the fans and be honest with them and say, guys, the next 2 to 3 years, it's gonna be rough, and I need you to be patient with them. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sign 3 to 4 quality players. They're gonna make more money than everybody else, but they're gonna guide the team to get them over the hump, and it's gonna be better for their development overall. Okay, that's what I'm going to say for that. We're going to look at the preview as well, the predicted formations off of Gazzetta dello Sport. And let me know what you think. I am going to jump in the comments, though. I want to see who jumped on here to say hi. It is my friend Angelo. Angelo, are you going to Roma Club New York tomorrow? I'm wondering. And by the way, yes, it does look that Leonardo Bonucci could possibly be joining Roma when pigs fly, right? Well, I looked outside and there you go. The prosciutto is got its wings. Crazy stuff. Let's look at this, my friends. Okay, let's scroll down here. So we've got to talk about Di Lorenzo, who I think is the best right back in Serie A. Ramani, Nathan, who is a good quality developing center back, Brazilian, I'm pretty sure. Mario Rui, who Roma know well. Meret in goal. Meret's decent. Zielinski, who's been rumored to possibly be leaving Napoli on a free transfer. Labotka, who is developed into a really good defensive midfielder, plays the simple ball, can break up the play. Surprising because he's not that big. Then Anguissa, who's done a very good job. So this is Mazzari, right? And Napoli, of course, struggled much, much, much so in the beginning of the season under Rudy Garcia. And it was quoted today that I think IFTV put it out that, that like he told De Laurentiis, like, I've never even seen Napoli play. And it's like, and he said it more than once. And it's like, why would you, how would you say that? Why would you tell your employer that? He's a stunad. Anyway, look at Napoli's recent form. At the bottom, we could see the Frosinone win. That's the Coppa Italia. So let's throw that out the window. A win over Cagliari and a win over Braga. A loss to Juventus. Juventus is good this year. A loss to Inter. A loss to Madrid. A win over Atalanta. So I I'm pretty sure Mazzarri was in charge at that point. If not, that's a pretty good win regardless. The only player that has changed from the Scudetto winning side, and we'll talk about this in the presser, Mourinho mentions this, is Kim. So that's not a big drop off as far as quality. We got to think that this is still a Napoli with Kvara, with Osimhen, who you remember last year had such an insane goal where he took it to Smalling, and that stinks. That's a memory which just haunts me all the time. But back to the starting lineup here. And then it's Kvara, Osimhen, and Politano, who's supposed to be getting the start. On the bench, they'll have Golini, who I'm surprised is willing to be a backup keeper, Juan Jesus, Zanoli, Dem, Simeone, Zerbini, and Raspadori. I would love to have a player of Raspadori on the bench. And not to bring up the past conversation, which is, let's call it the first segment of this episode, the first third, you look at Napoli's wage bill, it's very controlled. So as we're talking about planning and the plan from top down and how this team is controlled, part of that is salary management, and Roma's salaries are out of control. But off Roma's bench, just while we're down here, we see Belotti, Sanchez, Aouar, but I can't imagine Aouar is supposed to be hurt. He's got an issue going on. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but Selic is there. Across the back line, aside from Rui Patricio, we're looking at Indica, Llorente, and Mancini. Mancini is supposed to be in tons of pain right now. He's apparently playing on painkillers. I don't like hearing that, but maybe with Bonucci, maybe he gets some time off. Then Indica will leave for AFCON, African Cup of Nations. Midfield looks like Bove, Paredes, Cristante, and Pellegrini will play a bit more advanced. And we could probably see him drift more to the center right, where El Shaarawy will occupy a space more to the left with Lukaku up ahead. Of course, Dybala is still out. I shouldn't say of course, because he should be back for Juventus in a week's time, or I should say in 8 days' time from right now. So on paper, Napoli are significantly stronger in probably every asset. Is there any player you could see here that would start for Napoli that would replace any of these players? No, you're not going to start Lukaku over Osimhen. Maybe Mancini over Nathan. And that's it. So on paper, Napoli's much stronger. Mourinho's going to have his work cut out for him. It will play much more like a 3-4-3 in attack and I guess like a 3-5-1-1 or a 3-5-2 in the collapse when Napoli possess the ball and try to pressure Roma. Okay. Unavailable still, Abraham, Kambula, Smalling, Dybala, Spinazzola, Azmoun. And then Elmas actually was sold, I'm pretty sure, today. He was sold to Red Bull Leipzig for about 20-ish million euros. So, yeah. Mancini is diffidato, meaning he's worn. So if he gets another yellow, he'll be out with suspension. I'm going to take a quick look. Hopefully some people have come in. Guys, leave likes, leave a subscription. You know what to do. Send this to your friends. Send it on Reddit, on Big Soccer, Chiesa di Totti. Please help spread the message of this channel. And thanks for joining me again. Okay, let's look at the press conference here. I'm going to slide over to my Twitter real quick. And guys, I just want to tell you I'm working on something very special right now that's going to be available for purchase, hopefully within the month. My buddy is helping me with that. And yeah, I might have a book coming. The other product I'm not ready to mention yet, but it looks like I might have a book coming. By the way, there's a rumor from Footy Headlines, who's usually pretty accurate, that Roma are going to bring back the historic ASR logo, which you see on the right here. I would love that. I love this one. It's unique. It's old school, vintage, World War II era, if not beforehand. You can fact check me on that, but it's definitely a win. So also this looks like it's going to be a sellout, more than 60,000. This is like more than 40 sellouts since Mourinho has been coach. So that's less than 2.5 years. Jeez. Okay. Let's get into it, my friends. And also if you want to check out the John Obi Mikel, I linked it here, that podcast on my Twitter, which was really good. I liked hearing about his relationship with the boys, like Lampard, who apparently cried when he left Chelsea, is very good. And I will say that learning a little bit more about Mourinho has made me like him. You know, it's pushed the scale, definitely. Okay. I'm going to jump this one about the Super League. And he's like, it's not my position. He's asked, or he's told, Napoli always remain one of the teams with the highest technical values in the season of Serie A. Of course, they are the champions deservingly, and they won very clearly last year. They lost a player and took many. They are the same team. They lost a very good coach, but they have a coach with experience in football and Naples. You said it right. The results are different. Last year, at this point, they hadn't lost, but they are the same people and have the same potential. They have a bench with many solutions. Napoli is Napoli. Then about financial fair play and his stay in Rome. We know that Mourinho's contract is ready to end at the season's conclusion. He says the reason is the speech you made, because he's always being asked. He said there were doubts about my position. You talked about the many problems, and you might have thought that there might be a doubt in my head. Maybe you could have thought that some problem or frustration could create doubts in me. I made my position clear. My point is that there's no doubt and that we don't even have to talk about it. Many people could think that I want to stay or not to stay. For me, it doesn't depend on anything. That's how it is. I've always been direct and honest. When I signed with Roma, a week later, I had a fantastic offer and I informed everyone honestly. I didn't accept out of respect for Roma. He says I had the chance to go to Portugal. After Budapest, I got an offer from probably Saudi Arabia. He said, this is my position. There's no doubt. I don't want to talk about it anymore. He's then asked about who's stronger between Lukaku and Osimhen. He remains kind of diplomatic on it. He says one's direct and gives more depth. Two very good players that Syria is lucky to have. But then says Drogba. Drogba was different. And honestly, bro, Drogba was a different breed. He was truly incredible. I don't know what your age is, but I know if you're like Angelo, who joined us today, and Drogba was the best striker of his generation. He says it's hard to compare. I've never liked doing these things. Osimhen is the best African player, and Drogba was. Lukaku has African parents, but he is European and does not fall into that classification. We're talking about top players. Also, I know that there is a strong following on this channel of West Africans. So, being that Drogba is from Cote d'Ivoire and Osimhen is Nigerian, I wonder what the sentiment is. Okay, two last questions here. How's Mancini, and will Kumbula be called up? He says Kumbula is not even going to be on the bench. His training's going well. He says he'll return with Juventus, though. Paolo is doing well, recovering within the established time frame, but he will be out tomorrow. Also says Mancini trained today for the first time, but he plays tomorrow. If he doesn't have triple fractures in his tibia, he plays, and the team needs him and plays tomorrow. Aouar's recovery is far away. Smalling yet to return, hasn't even done individual training. I wish there was a better end for Chris, a player who's given a lot to the red and yellow. But I get that kind of grim feeling heading into January, a player who has a significant salary, one who doesn't play, one who doesn't look like he's about to play. And it's sad. It saddens me. Someone cool. I'm very happy. Like, he follows me on Twitter. I've reached out to him a few times, but I just wish things were different for him. Will it be difficult to face Napoli despite their many problems? He says problems about the results, not the players. They're the same as last year without Kim. They play almost the same 11 that won the Scudetto. He says the difficulties are the ones we know, but when we faced them, the draw was close. We lost 1-0 in the 80th minute. We drew in Naples and lost without deserving the defeat. We did well against them without getting the results we deserved. We hope to make a better result. Kvara, Osimhen, Raspadori, Simone are very good. And there I've got a little link. Well, you're here, so you don't need the link. But anyway, okay. So guys, we got 10 in here, and Drogba, yeah. Drogba was actually got to meet him. Here's a short story. So in 2015, I went up to Montreal for the first time. Since then, I've been back many times. I'm hanging out outside the training center. Who comes up to me but Roma's ex uh, digital manager, Paul Rogers. And he gets me in because I had been doing some work for the website at that point. I'm a young, up and coming journalist, right? He gets me in, and Roma plays Montreal Impact, and I get a press pass. Later, after the game, Drogba must have showered or whatever, and I see him like in the hallway. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Didier Drogba. So I run up to him and I hold out my phone like I was recording something. And I was like, Didier, how does it feel to be in Montreal? How does it compare to life in Europe? I had no idea what to say, but I knew I needed to say something to him. And it's just, he was like, I gotta go. But it was cool though. It was very cool. Swing King is here, says, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yes, so I ended up buying myself a sweater. And actually, I want to show it to you guys. It's called Vintage Football Kits Shirts. Pull up this website while we're hanging out. And before I came on air, I did want to talk about this and show this to you because I scored some pretty good deals. I'm not sponsored. I would love to be sponsored by them. But um, anyway, check this out. And I'll show you what I bought. I bought a bunch of Ajax stuff. I like Ajax Amsterdam. I like the city a lot. And if we go to like lowest here, you can see there's some decent prices. Like you could get a shirt. Well, this is in euros, but you can get like some pretty decent stuff here. There's other websites too, and like I think these places just kind of this is it. This is the correct website. So let's look up Roma real quick. I got the sweater, the Adidas one with the lupetto. Lupetto. I thought it was pretty sharp, and actually you can see it right here. And they got like the Christmas jumper. They got the old New Balance one. But if we go and do well, there's a way. There's like a filter you could use to see like the cheapest stuff, and you could pick up training shorts, like if they have your correct size for like 20 euros, and you could see this classic shirt, like look at that price. But this is an original. But to be honest, you can go on Etsy.com, and find something very similar. Yeah, when Carlo Mazzone took over and then gave Totti his debut, correct. So they did a pretty good summary here. Anyway, you got to hand dry those for sure. Use a light soap, nothing crazy. But guys, thank you very much for joining. Like I said, please spread this episode on forums and whatever it is. Let's see how it goes. Dai Roma, Forza Roma sempre. Ciao.